think that the number is near to 1/4 of the population.
I think 6.5 million people are drug addicts.
Not sure, but around 80%.
I think 1/3 of the population does drugs.
25%.
Years.
The problem is actually due to our open borders basically, and the way the things are going about in Afghanistan, and you can see that there's a war going on there, and they need to fund their war. And similarly, to generate the finances for that war, they have literally started making more money through drugs and stuff. During encounters, my tenure in that area where I was serving, it was Nakundi, Dalbadin, Taftan area. There were quite a healthy number of apprehensions, but still it was peanuts. It was very less. The smugglers, they have adopted over the time ways and means, and they have mastered the way to smuggle these things.
And what kind and variety of drugs are being smuggled?
You can name anything from injections to cocaine, heroin, anything, name a thing and it's there.
After the Afghan invasion in 1978, Pakistan became a gateway for a massive number of drugs. The influx of drugs such as opium, hashish and cocaine increased greatly within the country and proves to be a problem which is to date very hard to tackle. Pakistan then became a prime source for drug trafficking throughout the world, with these very drugs being trafficked from Pakistan to Iran, from Iran to Turkey, and from Turkey to various parts of Europe and other areas of the West.
I personally believe that having drugs is not a problem as long as you control your addiction and your addiction does not control you.
毒品滥用在中国，首先是对他本人造成非常严重的身体上的伤害，比如说各种的肝病，然后神经方面的疾病。但是就是具体来说，因为我们身边比较少这一部分的人，所以我们只能说了解到一个大概的情况，就是说他们的家庭同样面临非常严重的经济上的问题，同时他们的邻里也会对他们产生有非常严重的偏见。那么这一部分的吸毒人士，就算是他们戒毒成功之后，也会面临非常严重的社会重新接纳他们的问题。
Addiction is a chronic brain disease that affects circuits having to do with reward, motivation, memory, and decision making. And in society, we've traditionally treated it as a personal weakness. We have names from addicts, alcoholics. These days, we've begun to make a shift, focusing more on biology and neuroscience research to realize that addictions are chronic brain diseases. Instead of calling people alcoholics, we refer to them as people who are suffering with an alcohol use disorder, just as somebody who suffers from any other sort of disease, cancer, diabetes, is not defined by their disease. This new line of research has opened up many new treatment methods for people suffering with substance use disorders, from various talk therapies to medications, and it's helped society become more accepting of these chronic brain diseases, and that in turn lowers some of the barriers and some of the stigma that has traditionally been associated with drug and alcohol addiction. There are a lot of studies out there that examine people's perceptions of the danger levels of drugs. When people perceive that a certain drug is dangerous, use increases. And so we can see trends that happen over time. For instance, marijuana use currently. Over the past many years, the perception that marijuana is dangerous has been declining. As a result, we've seen an increase in usage and consequently abuse. As a society now, we are moving towards a model of legalizing or at least decriminalizing many, if not most, drugs that are currently illegal. Legalization sends a message that drugs aren't really as dangerous as we had previously thought. President Obama, a couple of years back, made a comment when talking about marijuana, suggesting that it is much safer than alcohol. That claim is not substantiated by any science whatsoever, but it's these types of perceptions that drugs are not dangerous that cause an increase in use, and consequently, an increase in abuse.
I think that consuming drugs depreciates our quality of life, and it acts like a slow poison that we take ourselves.
I personally believe that doing drugs is a cowardly act, and it is something that would causes moral and emotional degradation.
You know, you're exposed to so many different people, so many different types of people, and so many different actions that everyone around you makes. And there's this whole thing of peer pressure and societal pressure, and that's really common in systems where teenagers are going to be in large numbers. And, you know, the cool thing to do is alcohol or drugs. You end up trying it, and then you end up addicted.
शराब और मंशियात से दुआ करते हैं, और जो भी इसको इस्तेमाल करता है वो अपनी क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ ख़त्म कर देता है। और जो भी मैंने ज़िंदगी में जिनको नशा करते देखा है, उनकी जो जैसी जैसी उम्र होती जाती है, उनकी जो सेहत है वो और क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ में होती जाती है। इसलिए मैं सख्त मुज़ाहमत मैं नौजवानों को कहूँगा कि इनसे दूर रहें, अपनी ज़िंदगी का पोटेंशियल तबाह करते हैं जो लोग मंशियात में शराब करते हैं, और किसी किस्म का नशा करते हैं।
Usually human beings are doing outside or God or whatever background they come from. Usually they're escaping pain or not coming to terms with the circumstances, or sometimes they touch into it sort of fun, and then they have into addiction. But mostly it's supposed to escape inside. And if you look at the poor, the social economic background, they feel they're escaping, they can't take the frustrations of poverty, economic needs. They think if you take drugs, you go off to sleep, you can relax. The problem is still there. So their entire life is wasted like that.
First thing is that in England, drug abuse is not considered as a crime. So if you are using drugs, you you are not perceived as a criminal but as a person with a weakness. So the society in England looks at drug abuse as something that a person suffers from rather than breaking the law. Breaking the law occurs when it is found that the person is selling drugs or has large quantities of drugs which are more than enough for his personal use. For a person who is using drugs and keeps drugs to be used by himself, that person is encouraged to get treatment and help. Plus, in England, there is a large group of people, the majority of population, and scientists who believe that drug abuse, especially cannabis abuse, should be legalized as it is legal in Holland. So what they say is that cannabis use has not so much damage or danger compared to other drugs, and it is considered as a soft drug rather than a hard drug like heroin and cocaine.
Substance abuse and the use of alcohol is getting very common in Pakistan nowadays. Minority of such patients also suffer from psychiatric illnesses, and it's like when it exceeds a certain limit, then it's like an illness which needs to be treated like other illnesses. And it's very unfortunate that in Pakistan this is becoming a great problem, and especially in the youth group and school and college going students.
Who have not yet come into this world. So please discourage this abuse so that we should have a healthy nation in future.
Actually, I'm working in this field for the last about 37 years, and that's a long time that I've been focused on this problem society is badly suffering from the last so many years. And I believe that the age of drug addiction has come down to teenage now. Previously, I used to receive clients who were not teenagers. They were definitely in their 20s or 30s, but now I'm receiving clients who are school-going children. Maybe 14, 15 is the most common age we get clients about drug addiction, and my personal view is that this is something which is very hazardous for any student and it lingers on in life. So this mistake which they make of choosing to use drugs during their teenage, later on they find that it was a wrong choice, so it becomes very difficult for them to undo the act. So I think it is most important that amongst one of the many things which teenagers should focus on, one thing is that they should not be using drugs during the teenage. They should have fun. There are so many things they can enjoy. But once they are introduced in the world of drugs, they become dependent on them, and whatever they do, they must like to use drugs.
Well, in a country like Pakistan, I would say there are two approaches to curb a problem like this. One of the approaches that is being taken in Pakistan is to restrict all this. And the way it is handled in houses, parents, they don't talk about this stuff. they don't talk about this stuff with their children till the time they're 20, 25. By that time, half of them are mostly involved in most of these drugs. There's no awareness within schools, within houses. You would never have a drug-related class in school like all of the other countries have, so that there's awareness. Children who are, I wouldn't say children, I would say adults, teenagers who are going to schools, colleges, meeting new people. There's a psychology of trying new things. That is human psychology. You want to try new things. Because there is no awareness starting from home, they indulge themselves into these activities without knowing the end result.
My father used to drink, and once I just went into his washroom and I opened the cupboard for a fresh towel, and what I saw were glittery bottles and wine and stuff like that. So that was the first time I found out that my dad drinks. So what happened was that I joined the new school, and it was our welcome party. There I had a friend. I made a new friend over there, and before we went to the party, we went to his place, and his dad used to drink too, and my friend and his dad, they used to drink together. So my friend offered me a drink, I said no. Then his dad offered me a drink, I said no. And then I saw the bottle, and it was the same bottle that was in my dad's closet. So that way I was like, okay, it's the same thing. It's whatever it is, my dad does it too. So maybe I should try it as well. So that was the first time I tried alcohol. And I didn't like it at first, but then again it did give me some pleasure. I felt numb, and I felt like there was nothing greater than me. I was on top of the world or something like that. So we planned it and did it again and again, and slowly and gradually I progressed to more hardcore drugs. Went to weed, and then I progressed to heroin, and that's pretty much it.
ਕੀ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ ਤੇਰਾ?
ਅਹਿਮਦ ਮੁਸਤਫਾ।
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ?
ਸਰਵਰ।
ਕਿਉਂ ਨਸ਼ਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ?
बस कुछ नहीं, टेंशन है।
ਕੀ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ?
अब मेरी टेंशन है सब।
ਕਿ ਮਾਂ ਪਿਓ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਭਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਏ?
बस वो भैन भरावां की वजह से टेंशन है।
ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ?
बस
ਘਰੋਂ ਕੱਢਦਾ?
घर से अपना उनके मरने के लोग काबिल हो गए, अपना सही हो गया।
ਮੈਂ ਕਬਜ਼ਾ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਘਰ ਤੇ?
हाँ जी।
ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ? ਕਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ?
तकरीबन 8 साल हो गए।
8 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ? ਬੱਚੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ?
बच्चे हैं।
कितने गए?
बच्चे पीछे पेड़ ने पत्तों।
काम कोई नहीं कर रहे हो?
नहीं, काम फिर कोई नहीं कर रहे।
कितों पींदे हो? कितों पैसे लाके आते हो? पैसे कहाँ आते हैं?
रात में मजदूरी करी थले होटल ने।
कोई करना नहीं?
हाँ जी।
कितने नहीं मिल रही है एक टाइम की?
300 400 500।
छड़ दे क्यों नशा? छड़ दो, की फर्क बनता है? मर जाओगे?
नहीं मरने की गल है।
छड़ दे क्यों नहीं?
बस नहीं छोड़ता।
बच्चे नहीं मिलते पिंड पुंड जाना पिंड?
नहीं जाइए तो।
जाना कदों है?
महीने बाद।
पैसे लग जाना? पैसे पूसे?
हाँ जी ले दे।
सारे इतने पी लेना अगर कितों लग जाना है?
नहीं बचाई दे पैसे बचाई दे।
बच जाए पैसे।
When these teenagers they sit down with their friends, it's the peer pressure. If one of them is not doing and 3 others are, so that one of them is considered to be a social outcast. So under peer pressure, they end up trying to experiment things, and in the term of experimenting, they end up starting something which was fun. They might as well end up with a disaster. So these are, and then again, fun and fun, trying to taste new things, having experiences of new things. So because and social media these days is really gripping them fast. TV or social media or plays, different programs which are actually displaying all these things. So the influence of media is having a negative impact on teenagers.
मैं 10 साल का था तो कुछ सीनियर्स होते थे मेरे स्कूल में और वो हैश यूज़ करते थे, तो उनको देख के और उनसे सुन के कि हैश से हाई हो जाते हैं, स्टोन हो जाते हैं, तो मैं काफ़ी क्यूरियस था इस बारे में कि क्या होता है जब आप हैश पीते हैं। तो मैंने एक दोस्त से एक दिन मांग ली, उसने मुझे दे दी, उसका भाई करता था, तो तब से मैंने पीना शुरू कर ली। और फिर तकरीबन 8 साल बाद मैं हेरोइन शुरू कर ली क्योंकि हैश इफेक्ट करना बंद कर गई थी, तो तब से मैं अब तक हेरोइन पे हूँ।
Drugs and overuse of drugs is hazardous in all ways possible. With hash, which is primarily consumed in the form of a cigarette, and it has hazardous effect on your lungs with diseases such as future malignancies of lung, breathing problems, future effect on heart, disease related to heart in future. Coming down to heroin, primarily addiction is extreme, withdrawal effects are massive, you have your organs get affected, you have muscle cramps. Cocaine, an A-class drug, not everyone can afford it, a high-class drug, but having chronic effects on your body, such as your organs, such as your kidneys, such as your liver, your brain functioning, your sensitivity, your libido, your sexual prowess in future, multiple effects.
I started lying. First of all, I started lying to my parents about where I was going and what time I was going to come back and who I was hanging out with. And then I had trust issues with my parents and my siblings as well. So that was a major problem. And slowly I started having rude behavior with them. I did this for about 4 years, and it made a huge communication gap between me and my parents, especially my father, because we had a communication gap before as well. Drugs worsened it. Physically, I was very weak, and emotionally as well. I wasn't making good choices. I used to lash out at my parents, and I also went to self-harm, and I tried, to be frank, to be honest, I tried to hang myself to a fan.
Because of lack of awareness at home and at schools, you're only left with one option, that is rehabilitation centers. See, now there are different drugs that need different kinds of rehabilitation. For example, drugs like heroin, there's a vast socio-economic, health, mental issues related with it that need day-to-day care of the patient in a lot of different ways. With alcohol, there's like in the West they have the AAA teams. The AAA, you have a brother, a AAA brother, which helps you curb with a situation like this. In Pakistan, they can start organizations such as these. You can start bigger rehabilitation centers that cover all of the drugs, primarily heroin, because heroin is one of the biggest problems facing this country, specifically Lahore right now. Social awareness, government indulgence into rehab centers. I would say I don't think this issue is dealt the way it should be. We're talking about education, we're talking about transport, we're talking about electricity, energy. These things are important, but this drug issue, this is your next generation. The next generation of Pakistan is being sacrificed because of these drugs, and this is a major issue that needs to be overlooked, not overlooked, that needs to be looked into. If I'm a parent and I want to, if I find out something my child is doing, there are not enough good rehab centers in this city or in this country where you think your child would be safe, where you think he would get the best care. So I think it has to be a collective thing from the government part, from private sector as well, and awareness primarily is one of the most important things. So I would say that.
We have two different setups across Pakistan, which is one is Willing Ways, the other one is Sadakat Clinic. So the Sadakat Clinic caters the working class. It is slightly a lower category. Willing Ways caters the elite class. So there are 6 different centers in Lahore, Karachi and Islamabad. Roughly it would be more than 550-600 patients in all the branches combined for the indoor clients. Outdoor clients, it would be hard to keep account, but they are definitely more than the indoor patients. both the classes, they are equally involved in the drug usage, even the drug abuse, but the choice of drugs is different, their approach is different, but drugs are easily available to both the classes of their own choice and what they can afford. Initially, patients face withdrawal symptoms depending on what drug they are using. If the drugs are severe, they face severe withdrawal symptoms which we cure with the help of medications. So these are one of the problems, plus distance from the family, adjustment issues because they come in a different environment. Sometimes they have to be, we don't allow them for a specific time period to meet people because of the violence and the withdrawal symptoms. So that could be an issue.
So the average length of stay is 90 days, and some people even need more than that. So when this initial period of rehabilitation or indoor program is completed, then we shift them to the outdoor program, and they start coming initially every day, and they don't stay here overnight, but they stay for about 8 hours, then later on they stay for 6 hours, and then we also reduce the number of days per week if they need to come to Willing Ways for their follow-up. This is a total program of 27 months, and the first initial 3 months is indoor program and the 2 years program is outdoor program. So this is how they ultimately are recovered from drugs. But in actuality, recovery from drug addiction is a lifelong program. It has a beginning, but it doesn't have an end. Drug addiction and alcoholism is a family disease. So family counseling starts even before we have ever met the patient. So nobody comes into rehabilitation immediately. First of all, their family goes through an extensive counseling, and they learn how to intervene into the life of their loved one. They learn the different aspects of family intervention, and then this is how a patient is brought into the treatment, and during the treatment also the family counseling continues. So family counseling is very much a part and parcel of the patient counseling, and family needs to learn a lot of things because family has been handling or mishandling the patient before the patient comes to the rehabilitation center. So family needs to learn to overcome the previous mistakes and find new strategies to help their loved ones. That it's a myth that students use drugs because of problems. They don't use drugs because of problems. Mostly they use drugs for fun, and they don't know what other activities can substitute for the fun they seek from drugs. There are a lot of activities, outdoor games especially, and there are philosophies, there are paradigms, there are beliefs which are pleasurable beliefs and lead the children towards pleasurable life. But once a student learns early on that a quick fix can create a lot of pleasure, that is the slippery route to the drugs.
首先来说，在中国政府方面，它是非常严重的去打击，力度非常严重的去打击国内的这些吸毒的行为。然后吸毒它是属于一种犯罪行为，一旦被捉获，它是必须进入强制的戒毒所去戒毒。但是由于中国是一个非常人多的国家，所以很难在很大程度上把所有这些吸毒人员全部捉获。那么还有一些自愿吸毒的机构也会去帮助这些人去戒毒。然后至于在政府能够更加强什么方面去解决这个问题的话，我觉得应该是从根源上去，从小去教育这些小孩子们，去教育那些没有吸毒的人，告诉他们毒品的危害是什么，然后同时呢，让他们知道吸毒以后会对他们自己以及对他们家人造成什么样的危害。 然后另外一个问题就是，他们需要在更大程度上去打击那些贩毒的人员，让毒品尽可能少的进入一般公众的视线，这是我认为的。
Rehab centers and awareness campaigns need to focus on the idea that addiction is a chronic brain disease. It's not about personal strength or weakness. It's not about a fundamental flaw in a person. It's about a sick person. And that's what the National Institute for Mental Health has been doing. Dr. Thomas Insel, who heads the National Institute for Mental Health, has been actively promoting this idea that addiction is a chronic brain disease. And through techniques such as neuroimaging, we've been able to actually visualize the changes in the brain, the neurochemical and biophysiological changes that occur when a person is addicted to a drug. Spreading this message is key. It's key because it destigmatizes addiction. It will help people come forward and say, I am addicted to a drug. I need help because I'm a sick person. And they can do that without the fear of being judged, without being scorned or resented, but they can feel confident that they will be viewed as a sick person, ready for treatment, and that the medical establishment and society in general will embrace them with open arms and work with them to cure their disease.
I think the video made a really big impact because like the video said that people in Pakistan aren't really aware about drug problems. Like parents don't really discuss it because like it's not considered Islamic for people to do drugs and alcohol. So like I do think that people have gotten a lot of awareness and it will help like people who are like maybe like curious to try drugs and to try it anymore, knowing the consequences that you get like after doing drugs and how harmful it is and how bad it is.
Say no to drugs.
Stand against drug abuse.
Say no to drugs.
对毒品说不。
I stand against drug abuse.
Say no to drugs. Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
And I strongly say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drug abuse.
Say no to drug abuse.
Say no to drugs. I stand against drug abuse.
Say no to drugs. Say no to drugs. Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Uyuşturucu ve alkol kullanımı tüm dünyada karşıyım.
I stand against drug abuse.
Merhabalar, adım Serkan. Türk'üm. Uyuşturucu ve alkol kullanımına tüm dünyada karşıyım.
Say no to drugs. Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs.